Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today, doing a little cleaning up around the place. I cut down these pines that were very near the sawmill shed about a month ago. They're finally dry enough I can start burning on those. We're going to try to get those at least that portion of it burn up today. I've got another considerable amount of pine top down here I've got to get rid of. It's quite in the way. I've also got to get chainsawed up this little post oak here that I pushed out with the tractor. Turn it into some firewood. I think it's a little small. It's about 12 inch right there. By the time you get 8 or 10 feet up, it's only like 9 inch diameter, so that's a good little firewood log. So I took this tree out and a couple of other stumps that were right here kind of in the middle of this view to bring the drainage from in front of the sawmill shed farther away from the sawmill shed. Eventually, where those pallets are stacked there, I'm going to take out part of this wall. I'm going to walk over here toward the tractor, so it's going to kind of come up in volume, but I'm going to take out this wall. This wall's 20 feet long. I'm going to take out about 17 feet of it to about 5 foot high. And I'll be coming in with logs through this area. I'm going to move the sawmill around the corner. Anyway, so today what I'm doing is just kind of keeping an eye on this fire. I'm going to go out and do a little backhoe work behind the building and dig out some of these pine stumps that I created by following those pines. Eventually I'd like to be able to store air stacked lumber back there behind the building. That's the south side, so it would get plenty of wind back there. So anyway, I'm going to hop on the tractor real quick, and that's what we're going to get started doing. We had a 5.5 inch rain about a week ago in a 24-hour period. All of my ground is hillside, so it drains pretty well. But even at that, it's still pretty, hitting a root or something down in there and hear it crunching. It's still pretty soft in places. That little post oak the other day, I just kind of dug around it about like I've just dug right here on 3 sides of it, and then turned the tractor around and pushed it over with the tractor with the front end loader. Very big roots and woody material. I try not to get back in the holes. Eventually I'll be driving on these with the tractor when the ground's not so solid. finer stuff, we'll go ahead and let it get back in the holes. But these 2-inch roots and whatnot, we're gonna try to thin them out of it. So I planted these pines about 30 years ago. This was a wet gas well pipeline right away that when they built the pipeline was a 40-foot right of way, and then it reduced to a 10-foot right of way after they were done construction. The pipeline is 4 feet deep, and it's long since dead. But after they come through and clear cut everything to create this right away, as soon as they were done and gone, I planted all these improved shortleaf pines in here. Come on, honey. Oh, I'm hung up on a root. Not going to be the most efficient digging directly behind it, but we'll give her a shot real quick. At least we'll find all of our big branches, our roots back there. I may end up and have to get over on the side to break them. This thing's only fed off of the auxiliary on the tractor through 1/2-inch fittings, 1/2-inch hose. So if you're running 3 cylinders at once, something gets a little starved and slows down. You know, it'll still have adequate power, but it runs a bit slow. And then as soon as you stop one of the other cylinders, that one really starts moving twice or 3 times as fast as you would have anticipated it moving. So sometimes you'll see me running real smooth, and then all of a sudden something gets really jerky. That's really what's going on. And of course, this is not a kind of a piloted kind of system. It's all raw. I don't know if y'all can see down in that hole or not, but I feel something down in that hole. I'm kind of just trying to work the material on around the corner, and I'll come over and pick it up out of this hole. Half the time you're disappointed in the amount of strength this thing has, and the other half of the time you're surprised at the strength that it has. What it is lacking is length, boom length, stick length. It's very short. Ideal working distance is only about 3 to 4 feet at maximum. You know, when you start getting out in that last 1.5 feet of travel out like this, everything starts getting really touchy and squirrely. And then of course when you start getting close to you, you actually pick up a little power right up under you, but it's just so unhandy to work. When you get in that last foot, you're always running to the end of that foot. If you're just digging a straight up ditch, you can just dig it until you can't go any further and then move. But doing things like digging this stump out doesn't work out very well that way. These little things, you know, as a brand new add-on onto a tractor from a dealership, I would say are definitely not worth the money. I actually traded a tractor implement for this one, well used. I think it probably has somewhere around 3,000 hours on the backhoe itself. And then it was left sit out in the weather its entire life. I have rebuilt all but 2 of the cylinders so far. I have all of the stuff to rebuild all the hoses. I bought all the hose material, the fittings required, and press to do it. I just haven't got around to doing it yet. I suppose the first time I pop a hose will be when I start really diving into that. I've got, I don't know, roughly $1,000 into stuff to redo the hoses. It got quite expensive. This has, I'm not saying they all do, but this Coyote, which I can't figure out who made it for Coyote. Everything on it's British as far as the hydraulics go. The hoses have JIC fittings, which, you know, that's not too bad. But they're 5/16. Everything's 5/16. And, you know, you won't find 5/16. I've looked on the internet. I did find 5/16 if I wanted to buy a 1,000-foot roll, but then I still couldn't find all the fittings I needed. So I've got all the stuff to convert everything to 3/8. The swing cylinders, I may end up and put a flow control of some kind on those, whether it be just a washer or something. Reason being, at times they're way too fast to swing when you come off of that scenario I was talking about earlier with having 3 cylinders in use. You're actually having 4 when you're in the swing mode, because the swing has 2 cylinders. But sometimes if you stop doing anything but the swing, it'll really start slapping whatever's beside you. You got to really be on your toes. Anyway, you probably won't be able to see it from where you're at, but the kingpin bushings are shot right here. I don't know if y'all can see my hand in the camera even anyway, but they're bad shot. Then the main boom bushings are shot. The stick to boom bushings are pretty bad shape. The bucket isn't all that bad a shape. So I don't know, I think maybe some of it got greased really regular and maybe some of it didn't. I don't know. I know that the cylinders themselves don't have bushings. You know, I've had all but one of the cylinders completely off of it. I actually rebuilt all but one of those myself. They just want too much money to farm that stuff out. I checked into 3/8 hoses at my local supplier, and they wanted, what was it, $25 a set for 3/8 JCI fittings. And then, don't quote me on this, but it was either $6 or $10. No. Well, it may have worked out that. It was so many dollars an inch for the hose, for just average hose, nothing special, no 5,000 pound working, just typical 2,500 pound working, you know, 4,000 I think it is, or 4,500 burst on 3/8. 3/8 is pretty easy. You know, the bigger you get the hose, that little limb or root came out the side and then turned and went straight down. I'm going to try to get a little bit right here on my side. I can't curl my bucket because there's a big root right there. And there again, I'm right up to me. There's another one that goes straight down. I need to try to get it out. Oh, he's being ornery. The valve assembly leaks just a little bit. I've rebuilt both of these outrigger cylinders, but still yet every few minutes I've got to stop and put weight back on the outriggers. This is designed for a considerably smaller tractor than mine. You know, mine is a 50 horsepower equivalent tractor, and this is designed to go on a 20 or 25 horsepower. That's why it looks kind of small on this tractor. You know, Wood sells one, the equivalent of this, that goes on the 3-point that's recommended for a 50 horse or larger tractor to go right on the 3-point. This has a subframe. The subframe that I got with it didn't have any of the attachment points for the tractor, so I had to build all that. And of course, it wouldn't have worked if I'd have got the stuff off of the original tractor. It wouldn't have fit my tractor. It would have all been different. So I manufactured all of that. It doesn't work exactly like the OEM attachment. They had it just sliding into a pocket under the tractor. I have it kind of sliding into a pocket, and then it's also pinned with some 5/8 tractor pins. So I do have to get a little piece of cardboard or something, lay down on the ground and pull those 2 pins out. And then I've got the 2 pins in the back. The whole back assembly is built very similar to the original one. It just, of course, fits my tractor. If I could get that one root right there, maybe I'll just try to turn it over without that one. See what we can do here. See, like pulling here, it doesn't really feel like I'm doing anything. But now this tractor with this on here weighs close to 8,000 pounds. I have fluid in the rear tires. See, it's bypassing, but it's slowly moving, so I'm just going to leave it going just like that for a second. Hey, look at there. Rolled her up out of there. So 4 pines, because this ground was disturbed, I think, when they were planted, quite a bit of this was disturbed. You know, they came down through here and dug out fair size, you know, anything from, let's call it 2-inch all the way up to 24-inch diameter hardwoods was primarily what was down through here. They dug them up, piled them up, and burned them, and then buried the remains right here in this right-of-way. Even though the swing on this is fast, it doesn't have near the power that I would like to see. It does nothing to try to shove the tractor around sideways. I'm just going to break some of this smaller stuff off the bottom, try to get some of this wet clay dug out of here to lighten the load a bit. So I've got about a 5 by 5 hole dug out here. I guess it's closer to 6 by 6, really looking at it. It's about the width of my front end loader bucket. It's 72 inches or 73. Anyway, back to the tractor size versus this little backhoe. If I use the boom at times and get it in just the right place behind me and also uncurl the bucket, I can pick the tractor back end up as long as I've got the front end loader off of the ground. I've got that one actually pretty cleaned up. Let's see if I can get a hold of it somewhere. Look at there. Now, where am I going to put it? I'm going to go to the right because we're wanting to dig one out to the left. See if I can get it to go over my dirt pile. See if I can keep from landing it on myself. Look at there. So I don't know, it feels like I've been at this for about 15 minutes. That's where it was cut is about 10-inch diameter, and that was about 14, 16 inches above the ground. This is one of those little logs. I got a video of sawing up these little logs into 2x4s. That's why I did them. I had them, I fell them, as either put them in that burn pile up there or try to get some lumber out of them. So I don't know, using the backhoe, it'll take me 5 minutes or so, I guess, to fill this hole. Now, like I said, the ground's pretty moist right now. It's not too moist that it's sticky. It's not hardly sticking to the bucket bad at all. I wish I had some shale sitting here to throw in this hole. This is going to be a soft spot till midsummer. I'll have to be careful after rains to make sure not to get in it, or I'll end up stuck in it. When I relocate the camera here in a minute, I'll show y'all where I dug out some big stumps behind the building of the trees I felled before I made the building. So, you know, I dug those stumps out actually only about, well, it was early last spring, so I don't know, April. Now I did backfill them with some shale on the top. I put whatever dirt come out of the holes to begin with, and then I went over that whole area with about 8 to 12 inches of shale and clay mix to change the grade, because they were kind of in a low place. Push him on up the hill a little bit here. This thing is a little peculiar. You can accidentally grab a hold of your outrigger and try to pull it in the hole. It will do it. Anyway, see, watch, if I really push down, I'm getting one outrigger to come up off the ground because I'm twisted to that side. If I get right dead in the middle and I get just in the right place, I'm still just kind of picking up one. But if I curl the bucket, well, my hydraulics are still a little cold. It won't pick it up. Well, I've got the front end loader on the ground. I guess that's why it won't pick it up. But there's no way you can pick this whole machine up with the front end loader and the backhoe. And I don't think the subframe is stout enough to take it. It's 2x4 by 3/16 square tube. And I don't think it's any kind of super hardened steel. I think it's just mild steel. Nothing special. Take a look at that burn pile. It's not doing a whole lot. I might run up there when we get this backfilled and see, right now I'm trying to swing. I know it's hard to tell on camera sizes and stuff. This is an 18-inch bucket. I think it's rated at 1.8 cubic feet or something. It has a very oddball connection. Short of buying one from Coyote, you're not going to get a bucket to fit a Coyote. It's like 5 1/4 between the webs, and it's 5 1/4 between the holes. And I'm sure that's not the way they're measuring it, because the whole thing, I believe, is metric. The pins are close to 1 inch. The cylinder pins are 1 1/4 and 1 3/8 approximately. I think they're 30 and 35 millimeters. Is that the numbers I'm looking for? I'm talking about on the backhoe itself. The ones that attach the bucket are about 1 inch. So to get a 1 inch pin diameter bucket, you're looking at, like in one of those mini X's, you're looking at a less than a 3-ton machine. But then the webbing on those is only like 3 inches apart, and the holes are only like 3 inches apart. And if you go to a name brand of similar size, whether it's an excavator or backhoe, or their flanges are farther apart, and the holes are like 7. So when I get spare time, part of what I intend to do is I would like to make a trenching bucket, something like 9 inches wide. You know, I'd only be moving half of the material that I'm currently moving to make a ditch. You know, at some point I may want to bring electricity down from the back of my shop down here. I'm currently in the process of digging a water line on the property through solid shale. It would really be nice to have it for it. That's about all I'm going to do with the backhoe. Anything more than that will just kind of be wasting time. I could run over it with the front end loader and adjust it, or run it over it with the front axle and adjust it with the front tire or loader a bit. Well, we'll just leave y'all there while I turn around and compact this a little bit. missing it. I don't know if that's out of frame for y'all or not, but I'm gonna swing over here and get this little tree out of the way. We'll get y'all and go see if we can push up this burn pile a little bit. Water heater laying there. When I get time, I'd like to take it and turn it into a ditch bucket, 4-foot wide ditch bucket. Not to do any serious digging with, maybe to do a little bit of fine grading, and to be able to reach in a ditch and pick up some silt out of it. Are y'all keeping an eye on them elm limbs trying to come up under the tractor? Somebody needs to be. That old ditch right there is pretty soft. I hate to get over there too much. I'm gonna try to get some of this pine material maybe picked up and slid over into the fire a little bit. I'll smush it down good there. Got some stuff in the bucket we need to get rid of. Well, you know what they say, where there's smoke, there's fire, and we definitely have some smoke. That looks like that's taken back off. We'll let that burn a little bit. There was little puffs of wind every once in a while earlier, but we went to no wind whatsoever. Them pine tops, of course the needles will burn green, but those pine tops, they're pretty green. You know, they've only been down about a month here in the winter. They don't do much drying out. We're gonna go over here and see about one more of these stumps. I'll go ahead and dig back there since we're back there. Y'all with me? I'll try to check on you every once in a while, make sure that the bouncing around doesn't make you fall down and be looking at the top of my hat and nothing else. I found something back there. What I don't want to do is get into the roots of any of the existing trees. Of course, I am on the building side, so that would make them more prone to fall the other way, but it could also make them start dying out and force me to cut them down. I usually run the tractor up somewhere between 1300 and 1500 RPM. Seems to give it plenty of power. You can hear it lugging just a little bit when I really push on it. But as far as enough hydraulic speed, I've tried running it faster. I don't see that it benefits me any. It just makes it a lot more jerky in the motions. The new ones of these attachments from Coyote evidently don't have a provision to hook up the top link from the 3-point. They solely rely on the subframe. This one has a provision right below where the seat bolts to the machine frame. The first time I ever hooked it to this tractor, I tried it without it just to see, and it was terrible. The subframe had a lot of flex in it. The seat was moving around considerably, you know, left, right, back, front, especially the back front. Well, we got some significant roots on that westward side of this thing. I'm going to scoot over just a half a bucket, I think. The specs on the internet say that this thing has, I think it's around 4,000 pounds of breakout force with the curl of the bucket. Let's try and see what happens here. What if we try pushing away? Pushing away seems to be a happier ordeal. Need to curl in, stick out. There we go. Now, if you'll just stay right like that, I can get some dirt off of you. See if I can clean that out where we can see what's down in there. You hear it crunching. What about right there? What would be wrong with right there? Two broke up. Well, I'd be real gentle with it. I'm curled all the way. Let's go stick out a bit. Maybe that'll go over my dirt pile. Don't know. Let's try to go left this time. My dirt pile's a little small. Ooh, that goes to the wrong part of the dirt pile, don't it? Nope. I was afraid of that. Well, I hate to roll it right up at my feet. You never know what these things are going to do, how they're weighted, and if you ain't careful. You know, if you was on a Mini X and you had a blade out there, that'd be one thing. You could drop it out there on that blade, but see, I can probably curl and scoop it up. Let's just see if I can get it. But as I swing it around, see, I'm getting closer and closer to my feet. I don't have the boom extension to push it completely out of the hole. I may have to drag it over here to this edge of the hole, move the tractor, regroup. Come on. I got it just almost on the outrigger there. I guess we're sitting here, we might as well put some dirt in the hole. I think I'm gonna try to get some of these oak tops here. They're probably too green to burn. Shift them back over on top of the fire. see a little bit of elm in there, but this top, I'm pretty certain, isn't elm. I think we've got a mixture of some elm and some post oak in here. But all of it's a little green. Well, that woke it up. I think maybe we need to go up by this big pine and push the whole fire down the hill just a little bit. If you're not familiar with doing this, this is something that you really have to keep your head screwed on. You'll end up with one of these limbs wadding up, breaking up, getting under a hydraulic hose and breaking the fitting off. You stick one through the radiator. I've done a lot of clearing of trees and burning trees. Fortunately, so far, I've never had that problem. Worst thing I ever did was trying to push over a dead tree, and a pretty significant sized limb fell out of the tree. It was a dead tree. As I was very slowly pushing it, one of the roots get this thing settled down here. One of the roots in the ground broke, and that caused a shock wave to run up the tree, hit the top that was compromised, and about a 15-foot long, 3-inch diameter dart fell right in the middle of the hood. Put a pretty significant dent in the hood. That was not on this tractor, this was on the previous tractor. Once it fell on the hood like a dart, then it tipped over and hit me in the head. But you know, that was insignificant compared to had that fell and hit me. Because it actually didn't hit me in the head, it hit me in the shoulder. Went down my left ear and on my shoulder, and for about 24 hours I thought it broke my collarbone. So, you know, if that lawn darted into my body at all, I'd have been in pretty tough shape. So I'll push over like that post oak the other day. It's nice and green, every limb in it. I looked up it, and every limb in it looked nice and healthy. And they're right up there with hickory as far as tough. So I didn't feel uncomfortable pushing it, but I don't know if y'all can tell it, but like that mulberry tree right there, it's got some dead up in the top of it, right there by the trailer. It's got a jug sitting at the foot of it. I'd be really cautious about pushing that rascal over. That whole top piece is, I don't know, it's completely dead and rotten, 5-inch diameter, and it goes up another 20 feet. That whole thing would be likely to come over on you. I think if I wanted it down, I'd get a couple of chains and pull it over. Speaking of which, it very well may be coming out because it's so deadly. I need to do a little improvement on that ditch right there. Last year I went through and worked on this ditch and tried to make it nice and tapered on both sides so I could drive through it pretty easily with the tractor. And you can see over there where it's at, the ditch is narrower and steeper. This ditch is very necessary. It runs all the way up to those propane tanks up there. And it catches all of the water from the upper part of the hill and prevents it from coming down here into the sawmill shed and the log yard. Otherwise it would be a lot of water hitting down in this area. And of course here in the log area, last summer I put 50, 60 tons of low grade shale. And boy, what a difference it's made. We've been through 2 pretty significant freeze-thaw cycles this year. And I've been driving across it today and barely make tracks on it. Last year, after 1 freeze-thaw cycle, I drove over it and thought I was going to get stuck. I was really concerned. I did make it out, but I had to hit the differential lock and really do some finagling to get out of it. So I'm quite happy with that shale I put down. Oh, we got the wind and smoke coming right at us now, but the fire's picking up pretty nicely. There's a little breeze. It's helping fan that green stuff, and as you can see, I've got it all on the far side of that hump of, let's call it dirt. It's mostly burnt-out coals and a mixture of dirt. That would probably actually make some pretty good garden soil. But I guess we're going to cut this one off. I'm about to run out of battery. So I know this is a little different content than normally on my channel, but we may be seeing some of that from time to time. If you like this kind of thing, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see any more of it, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.